There's something about you that makes me wanna see you. I sang it from across the room. And I got you music together. You think making me wanna see you. Just make sure I'm live. I would love to keep you here with me. Okay, the live looks like it's working well. Okay, welcome back to the Grand Scheme of Crypto, guys. Let me do my official intro. Peace, everybody. It's the Grand Scheme of Crypto back at you once again with another video. This time we're going to be talking about... a few tokens on the market like Crow. I actually have a trade on Crow right now that I opened up at around 25 cents. So we're in the red. And I'm hoping we don't come down any further than this green line. So we got 3 falling soldiers. So it doesn't look too good on the 1 hour. You know, it doesn't look too good on the 1 hour. We did break 24 cents, which is the level that we were holding. We haven't completely broken it yet. So, but if this green, oh my gosh, and we're breaking it as we're live. So if this line doesn't hold, let me see, maybe I should remove this one. Now, if this line doesn't hold, then I don't know. So this trend line is from the August 25 low or August 25th low, which is at about 25 cents. And so we've been downtrending since that August 25th high, or August 28th. We hit a high of what, 40, almost 40 cents. We've been downtrending since, okay? And so, which is good, right? To be expected. But the fact that we're like coming all the way down, it's been what, 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks since then, and we're still downtrending. That's what has me a little bit worried. I'm not sure how low we can come down here. I drew out these trend lines. So this is a trend line from the bottom on August 25th. That from that, when we first started that rally, we were at about 15 cents. I don't think we'll see 15-cent prices again. We could see 19 cents. You know, we could see 21 cents. We could fall back down into this range is, what I'm thinking. I'm hoping we don't, right? I'm hoping if we do come down, I'm hoping we stop at about right here, 21.70. But I'm really hoping that this is it. This is the end of this dip right here. You know, around 24 cents. We did come down to around 23.62. We're just floating around there. So on the higher time frames, we did get a 3 falling soldiers on the hourly. Everything is oversold, by the way. So if you look down here, we are oversold on the some of the hourly charts, and on the daily, pretty much on most of the time frames, we are oversold. That doesn't mean that, this red, well, honestly, I don't know. Doesn't mean that we won't come down. We've already kind of had a correction, this big correction here. So, I'm not sure what this is going to look like. I'm not sure if we're going to keep correcting for down further, or, if we bounce from here. I'm hoping we bounce from here. I think we do. I think we bounce from here, to be honest, but you never really know. But anyways, I'm balls deep in the market right now. I'm balls deep in long. So if we don't bounce, it could be bad for me, but it's in God's hands now. See, look, if you look at this, it looks like we might be at the top of this dip. We might be at the high for this dip as far as, if we look at some of our other charts, we're looking at Chronos right now, but let's take a look at one of my other charts that I was looking at here. And let me just see. So we did dip back down into this area here that we're holding. So if you look into our Caspa chart, this area is holding, right? Now we are oversold on the Caspa chart on the daily. I'm sorry, we're overbought. So Caspa could we could see further downside from Caspa, right? For a consolidation before we start to move up. But it did break this downtrend here. Let's take a look at some of my other tokens that I was looking at here. Same thing with Link. We are overbought still on the daily, so we could see more red. We do have a level here, you know, that we can potentially come back down to. Um, just take a look at ETH. Take a look at BTC dominance. Zoom in. So I like to look at BTC dominance because as dominance drops, that's when you'll see a lot of the altcoins start to come down. Right now we see dominance is, you know, on a little bit of a rally today, right? So it's at 57.84%. And we see Bitcoin is on a little bit of a dip today. Looks like we have a triple bottom forming on Bitcoin here. So if we can try again for 116, we may just break through it this time around. You know, do I see us coming lower for Bitcoin as far as like to coming back down to 113? I don't think so. We haven't really tested this 117 area yet. And on the 1 hour, we're heading into oversold territory. Let's check on the daily. The daily, we are overbought on Bitcoin. Let's see here. So on the daily, we are overbought. Let's check our trend line here. So technically, we could do something like this. We could come down further, right? Up until we get to this trend here. And then we can start to, you know, bounce further up, which I don't see that happening, but that's, you know, we could ride this trend line up. It's what we could do. And if that happens, then it just pretty much means that we have to wait until after and that would pretty much line up with the post rate cuts. So the rate cuts happen on about the 17th, which is in about 3 days. So we could consolidate or dip down further until those rate cuts actually happen. As far as Bitcoin, as you can see here, it is, you know, pretty much, you know, topped out and oversold on or overbought on the daily. So we could see some more red. We could see it come down and consolidate a little bit more here. I don't think it loses this $113,000 level, although it could. I don't think it does. I think it's more so just maybe it's a further dip and some consolidation, and then we sort of just ride this trend line up to 116, 117, finally break it, and then push to 120 to 124. And like I said, that's going to happen, you know, into the beginning of October and then heading into November, right? If this trend line is respected. Now, how is that going to affect some of our other positions? HBAR is another token that I'm holding. HBAR is also overbought. So like I said, we could see further downside if we map out some of the key levels for HBAR. You know, it's something like that. And if we come down further for HBAR, we could come right back down to 21 cents. You know, is there resistance? Is there support before that? I believe we're sitting right on a support level. If we take a trend line here, let me see. I don't want to. Let's just do a rectangle. So I think from here to here is another key level. So, we could drop below this, but if this holds, then we'll likely bounce back. I'm not sure how big of a dip this RSI could do something like this, where we dip back down, and then we kind of come back up into overbought territory, or we could, like I said, come down and have one more dip in consolidation before we actually have the big move up with Bitcoin. So really, as far as my crow long, yeah, we're still dropping. So this probably comes all the way down to 23 cents. Maybe even further than that to around 21 cents. Just depends on if these trend lines are respected. Let's take a look at some other plays. We have, I have this still open. Okay, same thing with ADA or Cardano. This is a very important play for me this cycle because it's, still sitting, I want to say, at like the bottom of its lows. Could have caught it at 50 cents back in June, but being able to buy this under $1 is a steal. We have all-time highs of up to about $3 on Cardano. Let's see here. So same thing here. We are overbought on the daily. If we do come back down, we should respect this trend line and come back down to about 85 cents. We shouldn't go any lower, but if that trend line breaks, then we could see 79 cents. So I'm hoping that, we maybe get a little bit more of a dip, then we bounce, right? That's my hope. If not, I'm going to have to add some more to my positions to make sure I don't get liquidated. Because I'm extremely in the red right now. But you got to have faith. You got to have faith. And you got to believe. I may add another couple of $100 to this position. That way, I can ensure that I don't get liquidated. My margin ratio is at about 5% right now, so I should be good for some of my positions. My liquidation price is never, so I've gotten in to some of my positions very early, but you see, I opened up a few longs yesterday, and that kind of low-key screwed me. So we're in the red. I'm hoping we bounce back quick because, oh man. So my current liquidation price on Crow is at about 20 cents, which I'm not okay with that. I don't think that means we come back down here. And, we could get some sort of a scam wick that drops us all the way back down that low. That's kind of my only concern, to be honest, right now. But if 21.77 holds, then I should be fine. But I need to add more margin. That way I don't even come close to that price. So, and that's the only position where I'm, a little bit concerned. But we are oversold. So I see Crow a little bit differently than some of the other tokens because this is oversold. So I think this is going to be one of the first ones to pop. We're overbought on Sui. We're oversold on Crow. If we look at Sui, this is both the daily time frame. So this simply means that some of the tokens are going to pop sooner than others. So I see Crow was one of the, if we look here, Crow pretty much, I want to say, initiated the start of this altcoin rally because it rallied up from 15 cents to about almost 40 cents in, like 1, 2, 3 candles, right? And most of that was in 2 candles. So that's a very strong, and that was in just like 1 day, 2 days. So that's a very strong rally it had. I'm thinking once we recover, I think Crow is also going to be, one of the starters or kickstarters for the recovery. So it's already oversold on the daily time frame. If we look at let's look at a longer time frame. We are overbought on the weekly. So us being overbought on the weekly, I'm not sure how much of an effect that's going to have. When we were overbought on the weekly before, we had a slight, this was in May, we had a slight dip down, right? We were at 10 cents. We had a slight dip down to about 8 cents, or yeah, about 8 cents, right? And that lasted till June, so about 1 month, right? And then if we look in 24, we had another one, September 30th, 24. We started dipping down after being overbought, and that lasted for a month. Then we rallied, starting in November, we rallied up to, let me see, look how many percentage gains this was. So we had a 200% rally here after being overbought. Then we were overbought again, and we came right back down to that same price. So right back down 200% before rallying up 40%. And now, since we're in, more of I want to say this is more of a bull market, this Q4 that we're in. So I want to say that, man, I feel like I'm trying to predict the market here. But I want to say that we aren't going to just kind of crash down. Like this dip that we're on right now, we haven't even dipped back down into, the range where we aren't overbought, right? We're kind of just sitting in this range of where we're overbought. And even the most recent daily candle, it's like we've been overbought on the weekly since July 21st, which is crazy to me on the weekly time frame. And now, or July 28th, yeah. And now it's September. So one has to wonder, I don't know. I'm not sure how reliable of an indicator this is or what it means, but we'll just take that with a grain of salt. So if we're looking at this, let me remove my indicators. And we'll just remove indicators, and we'll remove, actually I don't want to remove the indicators, remove the drawings. So if we just simplify this and we say, okay, because this isn't us in the bull market, right? This is still consolidation, right? Because I guess you can technically say that, okay, yeah, we came down, crashed here, and this is the start of a new bull market, right? And so we rally, come down, rally up a little bit higher, come back down, but we're rallying and we're not sustaining any of that progress. So it's like, what were any of these rallies really if we're just coming right back down to 10 cents? So I want to say that this entire period was a bear market where we'd have spikes or small rallies, right? Like this was, the October, November 2024, Q4 pretty much last year, but all throughout the year since March, we have been just going down. So we have our random rallies in January, right? This one started in February. We had a random rally. In 23, we had a random rally from October to November. So you could say that we've been in the bull market this entire time. I don't believe that. I don't know. I don't, maybe I'm not as smart as the other guys, but yeah. So anyways, now let's mark out some of the key levels, right? Do this from scratch. So here is one of the first key levels, as you can see. Now we've already Let's see here. And the only reason I say this is a key level because look, we came up, touched this area beforehand, right? And then came back down. So this is a key, and then also, you know, we have a key area here where we came up, touched this area, and then came back down. So we have a few different points of, you know, support. That's why I think it's likely that we bounce here. If we do come down into this range, like I said, we could drop all the way down to about 19 cents if we get further into this range. Because look how deep these corrections have been. The only reason why I say it may not happen is because this time around, well, actually, no, there's nothing different. This rally seems like it should be more bullish because we have a lot more news. We have a lot more ETFs. We have a lot more things going on in crypto. Kronos has a partnership with Trump's token, WLFI, World Liberty Financial. So we have a lot more going on. This bull market doesn't mean the TA won't play out how it should. We could definitely come down and see more red before we actually start to, you know, rally. We won't do this again. We won't come down and just flatten out again like we did these past two times. We will eventually, but we have a little bit more to go before we just, you know, have two candles and we rally up and then we come down. We're officially in a bull market, so we're going to see something more of the lines like this. Like we come up, you know, this lasted, let me see how long this lasts. November 21 up until, this was November 1st until November 22nd. So about a month that rally lasted. I'm not sure how long this one will last, but I know that we still have a long way to go. Kronos, I think, is going to reach its all-time highs again. So that's essentially what we're looking at. We were in the bear market all of this time, since June of 22 all the way up until now. We've been in the bear market, in my opinion, because I've been in crypto the entire time, you know, and it's been essentially bearish. I don't get where people say that we've been in the bull market since COVID, or we've been in the bull market since 22. I don't understand the logic there. I mean, unless if this is what a bull market looks like, I guess so. Let's look at BTC. Maybe that's more along the lines of what they're talking about. So if we look at BTC from 2021 all the way up until now, I guess you can say we've been in the bear market or a bull market. If you're looking at it from this perspective, all we've done is go up, right? All we've done is go up, but that's just Bitcoin in general. Like Bitcoin in general is long term. Like if you look at the weekly long term, it's always been bullish. Like it's been uptrending since its inception. Just look at it. So to sit here and say like, oh, this is a bull. So what, you're gonna say that this is a bear market? So from 21 all the way down to 22 in December, you can say that was a bear market, right? And then December 22, that was just the start again of the bull, right? Because we came here, boom, boom, and hit 68,000. Then we came down. We hit 68,000 in November of 21. Then we started to fall down. So we could have been in the bear market all of that whole period, right? But I don't get what people mean when they say, oh, we've been in the bear market or bull market this entire time. I haven't been making any money, so I don't understand the logic there. This is 56 bars, 392 days. So about a year, we were in the bear market for about a year. Then we hit the bottom. Then we started to we consolidated for a second. Then we started to move back up slowly, right? Then you have this trend, right? And so if we keep moving up, I like to draw these lines. So Bitcoin, let me just look at something really quickly. So if we see heading into 2026, where do we see Bitcoin topping out at? So if we respect these lines right here, Bitcoin is likely going to top out at around 139,000 and around February, right? That's what we're looking at. And this pattern that Bitcoin is in, I think this is the bearish pattern. This ascending wedge that's getting tighter. I think I think it could be bullish if Bitcoin breaks above this line and keeps going. But if it gets rejected here, then this pattern is bearish and will likely fall, will likely come back down and start to fall out of it. It just depends. Probably more into 2026. We'll fall out of it, come back down and retrace, maybe down to 74, 75,000. Since that's one of the key areas, maybe lower than that, maybe even 50,000. But that's when the market is over. That's when everything is done. Bitcoin comes, hits these areas, and then starts to come back down, 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 touch right here, and then maybe it consolidates, and then maybe we start to continue up, respecting the overall trend and not falling below 40,000, 40 to 50,000. That's for the bear scenario, right? And then we hit that bottom, and then maybe we continue to kind of slowly push our way up for the next bull run or consolidate. But anyways, let me see. Yeah, my crow long is looking, oh man, it's looking bad. I'm long on Link right now. I'm long on a bunch of tokens. And we're heading towards 6% on our margin ratio. Okay, let's take a look at Sol, because this was another one. Now I'm looking at the weekly time frame, but let's make the time frame a little bit smaller again. Sol is just outperforming. I mean, Sol is just outperforming, and it's just going nuts. You know what I mean? I mean, look at it. Broke out of this channel that it was in, above the channel, closed a daily candle, I believe, above the channel. So it's just looking supremely bullish. And not to mention we have XRP that's, I think price has been suppressed on XRP for the longest time, and I think that price has been suppressed for a lot of these assets. And I think that these assets are due for a serious corrective action to the upside. So we have Sol sitting here, is sitting right on its support, close to its all-time highs of about $294. I think the all-time highs might be higher than that, honestly, about 257 bucks. And we had $295. So Sol is approaching its all-time highs, and I believe it's going to break its all-time highs. If we look on the daily chart, and let me add my indicators back here. Now Sol is oversold. I'm sorry, it's overbought on the daily time frame, meaning that we could see some downside action on Sol. Doesn't guarantee that we will, but we could. This is just one indicator, right? So would I touch Sol right now? No, I would not. I actually should have been long Sol since like 156, but I was playing around. So Sol is not one I'm currently holding. It's not in my bag. So Sol is one of the market leaders right now. Render is also overbought. So if you look at Render, it's overbought, and it's currently, on a small dip. It is sitting on support. Now, do I see us coming down further from here? Back down to like the $3.57 levels. I don't know. It's hard to say. We could see further downside, especially with the RSI being overbought, or oversold. But or we could just rally from here. To be honest, this could be a small dip, and then we could start to rally tomorrow. So it really just it just depends. I guess if you look at the 4 hour, we're oversold on the 4 hours. So on these small, so could we start to rally back from here? We could consolidate for a little while and then start to rally back from here. Even though on the daily we're still oversold or overbought, I'm sorry. So it just depends. Let me see. These are my mid caps. So if we look at things like CHZ, this is something that's still in a very good buying territory, right? I'm not sure how well it'll do this cycle. But sports is something that, is always kind of happening. So sports related tokens are, something I'm always going to, hedge on. Then we have gaming, right? We have AXS. With Axie Infinity, it's still sitting in an area where it hasn't even broken out yet, and it's sitting at the bottom of that area. So at around $1 or $2.50. AXS at one point was about 90 bucks, 119 bucks. So this is a very good opportunity, for gaming tokens. I'm not sure how well AXS is going to do this cycle. I'm not sure if it's going to get back to all-time highs or get past all-time highs, but I do know that Axie Infinity is one of the hardest working economies and gaming projects in crypto, right? They're consistently delivering and consistently bringing volume as far as NFTs. And this is a very good opportunity from $2.50 up to $96, or even up until $75, or even if it gets back to $27 to $28, it's a great opportunity. If we look at how much room there is to grow from $2.50, just back up to around 28 bucks, you're already at 7 to 800% on your initial investment. So this is a big one for me. I'm going to move this one up to the top. Then of course we have Gala Games, right? Another gaming token. We have VRA, which is this is more focused on advertising. And they do have a patent for the technology that they are providing. So even this one here, back up to previous levels. Not even talking about all-time highs, you're already looking at about 1,194%. Just back up to, the 1.5 cent range to 0.16 cent range, up from about 1/10 of a cent. So this is another good opportunity. Arweave, another one, another great opportunity sitting at the very bottom, right? These levels that we seen last year, August of 2023, when we kind of dropped down from, that bull cycle that we had in 22 and everything. When we dropped down the following year, we hit lows of around what, $4.31, and now we're sitting at $7.15. So these prices, you're not going to see these prices for long. Once AR starts to move up to around what, the $15, $19 area, this price is going to be gone. So you want to get into these tokens right now while they're still sitting flat. It's been sitting flat since March of 2025. If we look at this area right here, so since the beginning of this year, it's been sitting in its box consolidating. That's a long time. Let's see here. That's 214 days. So once it leaves this area, it's, you're never going to see these prices again. Once it, after this bull market, once it does come down, depending on how high it goes, it'll probably come back down to this area and consolidate $19 or, maybe $49. It really just depends. So that's Arweave. I did take a trade on A16Z, AI16Z, and it was successful. It has since retraced, but we did have a successful trade on it. Doesn't really matter now since we're in the red. Let me see. Okay, it's coming down. Crow is still dropping down, so we could see Crow come down to about 21, to about 20 cents. I was just looking at my longs. Okay, So same thing here with Ava. You know, Ava is this Travala, right? This is a traveling company that allows you to book travel flights and all kinds of travel accommodations. Now, this token was still inside of its downtrend. It did break out. It did break out of the downtrend that it's been in since about July of this year. It broke out on September the 11th, and then it came, you know, broke out, got to about 58 cents from what, 56, and now we're sitting back at around 55 cents. So if these trend lines are respected, you know, then we should see a bounce here, right? Because it's sitting on support, right? As we can see here, this area is support. We can see we came down here in July of 25. We, you know, we were at this area for a second. We came here, stay here for a second, and then we kind of pushed up. And then every time we come down, we always, you know, we wick down to this area. If you can see from these two candles I'm looking at, this area is well respected because we wick right down to this area, then we bounced, then we came back down further, and then we came back up to try and retest this area, got past it, you know, then we boom, came up. So every time every time we come back down, we're coming back down to around this area right here. So as long as, you know, this 55, 56 cents doesn't get broken, and of course we have this trend line here that's also giving us support. These trend lines are very well respected in for the TA. So it might seem like I'm just drawing lines, but these lines are very well respected when it comes to price. So if price doesn't break, you know, below this level of support, then we should be fine. If it does, the next level we're looking at is this trend line. So we're looking at this trend line, and that's about 55 cents even, 55.05. So as long as we don't break that and break back into this trend, we're good to know that, okay, we're likely going to bounce. If we break the support and then break back into this trend, this parallel channel that's downtrending, then we could see us come back down further to levels like 51 cents, right, that we just seen a couple of days ago. But like I said, I don't see that happening because that sort of invalidates. We could see come back down to 51 cents, right? We could come back down to 51 cents. I would say I don't think it's likely because if we look at let me just try and map something out here. Because if we look at the longer trend that we've been following since November of 2024, right? See where we drew that line from. You know, we've been pretty much setting higher lows since then. So this is our first low of 40 cents. Our second low was about 42 cents. That's probably a scam wick, so we'll just take it from up here, about 45 cents. Then we come up a little higher. We're about 48 cents. And now we came up a little bit higher and at about 51 cents. So but really this line is at around 49 cents. So we could come down to about 49 cents and still our long-term bullish pattern or bullish trend will still be valid, right? Will still be uptrending. So that's why I don't think we come lower. I don't think we come lower than this right here. If we do, it's going to stop. Let me find my drawings again. Where'd they go? Oh boy, I lost it. Oh. So if we do come lower, you know, maybe to about 53 cents, and then we bounce. That way we maintain the trend. We maintain that the uptrend that we're in since November of 24, right? But if we look at this, let me see. You know, we are still downtrending on Ava. So Ava hasn't necessarily broken, you know, its longer term downtrend yet. So we still have to break this longer term downtrend on AVA, right? But it's at the bottom sitting on support. So could it come down lower? Yes, but not much more, not much more lower. You know, this isn't going to get that much more lower. This is the lowest price you're going to get at, you know, before we start to enter a parabolic bull run, which I think is imminent, you know, with everything we have, with rate cuts coming, with all the news that we've had this year, with all of the ETFs that we've have. Not, you know, a lot of the ETFs have gotten delayed till like November, October of this year, but I feel like that's another ploy to shake people out of their bags, because I feel like this is going to be one of the biggest bull runs that we've had. Bitcoin has already started off by, you know, reaching new all-time highs. If we look at BTC, you know, we hit 124,000. And are we done for this cycle? I don't believe so at all. And that was, we ran up to 124,000 from 74,000. So, and before that, we ran up to 108,000 before we came back down to, you know, about 70,000. So let me see. Yeah, I don't think we come down much further. I think Bitcoin is on a parabolic run right now. You know, I think we keep going. You know, if we draw this trend line out, if we respect this trend line, then, you know, we have a very upwards trajectory. So it all depends on which one of these scenarios actually plays out. So these are all different. All these trend lines are the same color, but they're all different scenarios just based on which trend actually, or which pattern actually gets followed. I think I'll wrap it up there. Let me see, what other coins could I take a look at for you guys? I haven't really looked at any memes. So I guess we can look at Dogecoin. I did have a trade on Dogecoin from here up until about, from 21 cents up until about 25 cents. I did have a good trade on Dogecoin. I'm no longer in that trade. I did take profits on it. But Dogecoin, once again, it's like each coin is different. So you see Dogecoin is actually overbought on the daily time frame. So could that be bullish for Dogecoin? It sure as well could be. Could we see Dogecoin, you know, start to, I'm sorry, could that be bearish for Dogecoin? Yes. Could we see Dogecoin, you know, take a further dip down or consolidate? Yes. And let me just look again. So all these coins are in overbought territory. You know, we look at NEAR, we look at AVA, we look at TON, we look at A116Z, we look at AR, we look at GALA, we look at CHZ, we look at AXS, we look at SOL, we look at XRP, XLM. We had some tokens that were in the overbought territory. Where were those at? Here we go. So we have Chronos is the only token that's in the overbought territory. You know what I mean? So that's why I say Chronos is probably going to start pushing up from here. You know, going into, and you know, we might stay in overbought for a few more days up until the rate cut news. But that's the only token that's in overbought territory. And it makes me curious as to why. Like that's why I feel like Chronos is kind of like one of the leaders in this bull market. Even SOL is, you know, oversold on a daily. Let me just check that one more time. Yeah, that's very interesting. So I just wanted to kind of point that out to you guys. In other news, let me see. I do have some other news I want to kind of get to you guys. Let me see. And just some more TA on Crow. So I actually used ChatGPT to help give me some information and analysis on Crow. And let me give you guys what it actually spit out back out to me. So the TA on Crow, this was on the 3 hour. So we'll take a look at the 3 hour so you guys can, so it can coincide with what I'm actually talking about. See, on the 3 hour too, we're also oversold. So this is why I say we're probably due for a big bounce on Crow at any time now. So it looks like Crow is forming a triple bottom. So if we look here, 1, 2, 3. So all of the bottoms aren't, you know, at the exact same price areas, but it looks like it could be a triple bottom or inverse head and shoulder structure near about 24 to 25 cents. This is a bullish reversal pattern if the neckline of 27 to 28 cents breaks. So this is the resistance that we're looking at. My trend line here. So about right here is the area we need to reclaim, right? To validate a further breakout back up to about 40 cents or 35 cents. The resistance zone or the support zones currently are 24 cents. So about right here, we have 21 cents. So about right here, right? Let me mark these out. 21 cents. Then we have, this is 24 cents, this line. We just have it a little bit further down. Then we have 19.6. So about right there, right? So these are our major support zones. So even if we do come down further, we're going to have to break all of these supports in order for us to, in order for us to break trend, right? And the resistance zones are, we're looking at around 27 cents first. Then we're looking at Then we're looking at 30 to 32 cents. Then we're looking at 35 cents, which is about right here. Right? And then 40 cents, of course. So I think personally that I think we bounce from here. I think we bounce from here and just start to go straight up. That's what I think happens. It might not happen that fast, but I think that this is where we start to bounce and we start to go straight up. And it just happens a little bit slower, right? So it happens slower, and then by the time we get to the end of September, bam, we're at 35 cents, 40 cents. Now, indicators. So the MACD looks flat. I don't have the MACD showing again. Let me bring it back up. This is our moving average convergence divergence. So if you look at our MACD, so it's waiting for a momentum spark. It's very flat right now. Things are red right now, as you can see, but it looks like we're about to flip green, or about to flip into the side of the red where things start to turn back green. And then the stochastic RSI is oversold, trailing up, usually signals a rebound potential on short time frames. So on the shorter time frames, this usually signals a rebound that's imminent. And like I said, we're oversold on pretty much every time frame as far as the hourly time frames, even the 30-minute time frame, even going up to the daily, we're oversold. The only thing we're not oversold on is the weekly. And like I said, that isn't as reliable when it comes to the stochastic RSI and it being oversold or overbought. So our combined outlook from ChatGPT is this. Bullish setup. Crow is sitting on a strong 24% support and plus oversold momentum indicators. If Bitcoin holds and Fed cuts as expected, Crow likely rebounds to 28 cents to 30 cents in the next leg. Now the bearish risk is that if BTC pulls back or Fed is less dovish, Crow could wick into the 21 cent area, which is my red zone. And I'm not even going to say that. But if we dip further, it can get down to about 19 cents. So the most likely scenario is that Crow defends the 24 cent area, bounces toward 27 to 28 cents into the FOMC. Now post FOMC, we could have a dovish cut, which equals a breakout to 30 cents to 32 cents. Now the bearish tail risk of that is we could have a hawkish surprise, and that will equal a retest to about 21 to 20 cents. All right, and that is my take on that. So let me just look at it again. So yeah, if we look at Crow, on a smaller time frame, just to get closer into what's happening with the price action. Just get a little bit closer here. I don't see, there's actually not much volume you know. So volume has kind of started to die down. You know, we didn't even really, yeah, so we didn't, we touched, what's this price, 23.55. So I think we stop here. I think this is where we stop, you know, because this area got cleared. There's strong support here at 21 cents. 21 cents has strong support. You know, even if we look into Crow's history, 21 cents, there's strong support there at 21 cents. Right? We can see from even previous rallies, 21 cents, you know, is strong support, that area, right? So I don't think we come down further, but if we do, you're safe as long as it stays above 20 to 21 cents, 19 to 20 cents, right? And now I see my margin ratio is dropping once again. We're at 5.5%. So I'm going to actually add some more cash to my bags here. Because I personally think that we bounce from here. I think we bounce from here. But yeah, guys, let me check my live really quickly. Let me see. I haven't see thoughts on XRP XLM. Yeah, sure. XLM. Let's take a look at that really quickly. I didn't even, sorry about the late reply. I didn't even see you in here, dude. Who is that? That's Jesus. Or Jesus. Let's see. So XRP or XLM actually looks good. It does look good. We did have a small, we're on a slight pullback right now. Let me get back on the daily chart. Slight pullback right now after we did just rally after the breakout. So this was a breakout on XLM. Let me mark out some of the key areas that we're looking at here. Okay, so we broke that. And we're looking at, so we're looking at about 52 cents as the next area that XLM is looking to test, right? It hasn't really tested that area since July. So once it does, it has already broken out. So I think that at any time now, XLM is going to start rebounding and start pushing up towards 52 cents. And then once it does, you're not going to see this price of 38 cents anymore. Taking a trade on XLM, if I was going to trade XLM, I wouldn't long it now just because, you know, it is oversold. So we could see further downside, which could take us down to around, you know, this area here, or even this area here as well. So we could come down a little bit further to maybe around 37 cents, maybe 36 cents. And that's where I would try to have some limit orders placed to long it potentially. But I do see XLM starting to push up to 52 cents at any moment now once, you know, this consolidation or this small dip, this red day is over with. I don't think this red day is going to last too long. I think we'll be red today. Today is Sunday, and then maybe Monday, tomorrow will be red. And I think that we continue our push up depending on how Bitcoin looks and how Bitcoin dominance looks. As Bitcoin dominance starts to drop again and continues this drop down, which it looks like it will, you know, we're sitting at 57.82%. I think Bitcoin dominance starts to drop again, you know, after today, and then Bitcoin, you know, maybe starts to consolidate or maybe keeps pushing up. And like I said, I see alts because Bitcoin pushed up to 115,000. I don't think we've seen the alt rally behind that yet because it's Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then we, you know, Ethereum hasn't moved yet either. And then we kind of see alts move. So Ethereum is just flipping green on, you know, the MACD, and it's also oversold on the RSI. So those are kind of conflicting signals. So you're not, I think that this is a time in the market where a lot of people are unsure about what's going to happen. A lot of people are unsure about potential black swan events that could, take the market down. As far as like having a bigger dip. But I personally don't think that a black swan event is coming. I think that the market is very bullish, and I think that um, things are going to just start happening a lot quicker than people expect. So XLM for me looks good. Um, that's a long hold for me. So I would buy as much as I could under 50 cents while it's under that price, and just hold either till $1 or back until I'm not sure where I got this price point from. About $1.50. Let me see where I might have gotten that from. Yeah, because that's after we hit 64 cents. Of course, Jesus, man. Of course, you have a good one. After we hit 63 cents, I think that we enter price discovery, and from there, XLM is going to follow XRP. Because those two coincide. So XRP is at $3. I think XLM fast tracks to $1, and from there, it's anyone's guess. But I do think that you won't see 50 cent. You won't see a 50 cent XLM ever again after this year. Even post bull market, we'll probably see an XLM sitting stable at $1.50, depending on how high it actually gets up to. XRP, that one is a no-brainer for me. My father told me to buy XRP only and just hold. So XRP, just look at the patterns on it. If you look, it's in the middle of the RSI, so it's sitting at around 40. So it's right in the middle. The MACD is looks like it's about to flip red. But like I said, that this dip that we're on right now, we could see more. We could just see more green. We could see volume kind of stop, slow down, then we could just see more green, right? So I personally don't know what XRP right now. I'm just bullish, right? I can't say, I can't give you guys the perfect trade opportunities, but I would say buy as much XRP under $3.20 as you can. XRP for me is already a little expensive, but when you have people saying that, you might see a $20 XRP, it's worth it to just, buy as much as you can and hold till at least $6 to $10. Because you're guaranteed, you're not guaranteed, but we'll likely see a $6 XRP before the year end, and that's just on the conservative side. Those are two good holds. Yeah, long term, if you're just holding XRP and XLM, you're good, dude. Just hold those bad boys. Exactly, and just buy dips. Yeah, that's a good plan, man. If you're not in a rush and you just you're going to work or whatever you're doing, saving, and then you're just buying XRP, XLM, just hold, dude, for like the next few months to unless this bull market, depending on what your strategy is, I would say, because XLM and XRP, they're both going to come down. They're going to retrace, at the end of this bull market, usually toward like January, February. So I would try to be out before then. Yeah, I'm young, man. I'm young. I'm 34. I just turned. But yeah, I'm looking to be out of crypto completely by December, and just be maybe holding some Ethereum or Bitcoin, and just long term, right? Or holding, another token long term, staking it just to getting some interest on my holdings. But that was my mistake in previous bull runs, is I held too long. So come November, December, depending on how fast all of this kind of starts to move up, make sure that you're, taking profits, or whatever your strategy is, make sure that you're taking money off the table. If I was to give you guys any kind of advice, not financial advice, but just don't hold too long. That was my mistake in previous bull runs. I'm still holding NFTs and all kinds of tokens from previous bull runs that I never got to liquidate out of, just because the market just ran down too far, and my tokens were essentially worth nothing, $5-10. So this bull run, I'm liquidating a lot of things and just being very smart about my longer term plan for the market. XRP looks good. Try and get as much as you can under $3.60, which is the local high. But I think once we clear that, I think it's off to the races. All right. Any more comments? That's XRP and XLM. Another good one I would also look into is XDC. A lot of people are asleep on that one. Let me take a look at it. I haven't looked at this one in quite some time. This is at 7 cents. I'm not sure what the market cap is on it. This one actually, so the November 24 lows are about 2.5 cents. Our new local low is about 5.5 cents. This is where we kind of hit that in the middle of the June of this year. And so now we're sitting at the bottom at around $7, 7 cents, 7.5 cents. So I don't think we see XDC also get any lower than this. This is a great buying opportunity for XDC, which coincides again with XLM and XRP. It's if you haven't looked at the fundamentals for this token, fundamentally it's very strong. The technology is very strong. And I forget, some of the partnerships that they have and some of the more technical details that they have going on with this project, but it's a very strong project, and it's one that you want to start looking out for if you're looking for something long term to just get in early. Like if you missed Bitcoin, if you missed XRP, if you missed, a lot of these tokens, if you missed Sol, Sol was at one point $10, $11, $12. If you missed these tokens, how they ran up from those early entries, then XDC is now at that point. It's 7 cents. In a few years, this is likely going to be 50, 60, 70 cents, maybe even $1, right? And that'll be like the new norm for this token. And you won't ever see these prices of 7 cents ever again. So look into XDC if you don't know what it is. Check out the fundamentals, and this could be a token that could be your next Bitcoin or your next Solana that you get into early before it actually hits Solana prices. Same thing with Crow. You're very early on Crow. All-time high is what? 98 cents. I think it's 98 cents is the all-time high on Crow. With this whole Trump partnership, they have a partnership with WLFI, which is Trump's token. It's World Liberty Financial. That's a huge deal. They're creating a Crow treasury. They have a way that you can use Chronos for another one of their ventures. You actually get rewarded in Crow tokens. So a lot is happening with Chronos. Another one to keep an eye, and this is a U.S. based token. That's very important. This is based in the U.S. and their website name is crypto.com. A very important thing to own that domain, because when people think, new people getting onboarded into crypto, the first thing they'll do is Google crypto, right? And what do you think will come up first in that search? Likely crypto.com. So it has, very good SEO just by default. So yeah, so enough yapping on that, but make sure you guys also keep an eye out for Chronos. I'll cover more of these tokens fundamentally in my next live, because if you guys don't know about Chainlink, as far as like what the tech actually does, as far as it being an oracle, even getting into HBAR, a lot of these tokens fundamentally are very strong because the technology is very sound and it's being used today, in real time in Web3 on the blockchain. And a lot of our regular, I want to say Web 2 companies are already using these products, right? So there's already companies using or integrating with HBAR. There's already companies integrating with Algorand, right? Trying to figure out how they're going to, integrate blockchain technology into their current business models. So yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for joining today. I'm going to start going live every single day. We put in an hour today, which is very good. Didn't expect it to be that long. So yeah, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. I do have some news for you guys. Let me just quickly run through some of the top news articles that we have. So Dogecoin marks the best month since 2024. With ETF launch on the horizon. So Dogecoin has surged more than 30% this month. And that does kind of defy the broader market's weakness. So it is very strong compared to the rest of the market. And we do have an ETF launch on the horizon. It first appeared on CoinDo. So check out the ETF launch that could be coming up with Dogecoin. Lots of big catalysts coming up in the next couple of months. A lot of people are saying the bull market could be almost over. By the end of Q4, I would agree with that. So by December, I would agree the bull market could be ending around December, January. What's next on our headlines? Let's see. So Galaxy Digital buys $1 billion worth of Solana, sends most to Coinbase Prime for custody. Shibarium, or SHIB token, not Shibarium, jumps almost 2,000% in major metric as supply shrinks by 2 million SHIB tokens. There was a large hack that just occurred on, I think it was Shibarium or SHIB. So check that out. There's lots of opportunity when these kinds of things happen, to long or short in either direction. Let's see. So here they have a nuclear projection that could send XRP up to $943. So this is an article by Finbold. A cryptocurrency analyst has outlined a potential scenario tied to XRP's role in cross-border payments that could push the asset close to $1,000. The outlook shared by analyst Diana in an X post on September 12th builds on a projection from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, who suggested that XRP could capture 14% of SWIFT's. If you don't know what SWIFT is, it's our current cross-border methods for payments. 1.5 quadrillion annual flows within the next 5 years. According to the analyst, if XRP managed to secure that 14% share, roughly $210 trillion, nearly 8 times the size of the the article cuts off. But if you want to know more about that article, check out Finbold. I can drop you guys the link as well. There's a XRP $15 billion liquidity shock that has finally faded. So we could see a $3.80 XRP finally in sight. Solana's total value locked hits $13 billion all-time high. Will the SOL price follow with the new all-time highs for the total value locked? Okay, let me see. Anything else? The market's priced in a 99% probability of a Fed rate cut at the next FOMC meeting in 3 days. Now, if you guys didn't know, the Fed's cut rates in about 3 days on September 17th. Lots of people, now usually when this happens, the markets do dip down before they start to rally. So just keep that in mind. I'm not sure if that'll be the case this time around, but my plan is to already be positioned before September 17th. So I want to have all of my tokens bought before September 17th comes, just in case things start to explode before then. Oh, crypto job market in 2025 expands with Amazon hiring experts for 400K. So this says the cryptocurrency industry is no longer limited to blockchain startups or fintech companies. In 2025, Amazon made headlines by paying workers high salaries for cryptocurrency jobs. That's actually very interesting. So if you have any skills in cryptocurrency or blockchain, it's worth looking into maybe getting a job using said skills. I think that is it for the headlines. Next time we speak, I will let you guys know about some more tokens that we can maybe get into and make some trades on. Actually, today is the perfect day to make some trades. Just look at the dips that we have, like dips on. But if you're looking to make trades, look at tokens that I've spoken about that are mostly flat. So if you look at AXS, it's flat, and this is a gaming token. So gaming hasn't really run up yet. So Gala, it's mostly flat. VRA, it's mostly flat. Some tokens have already started to move. Now we see Render. We've already kind of started to move up on Render. XRP, Crow, it had its first move up, but now it's, consolidated back down to about 23 cents. So I'll cover some more of these plays in my next live tomorrow. But these are good opportunities right now, guys. I don't think we sit flat like this for too much longer. Just look how flat we are compared to the lows of 2023. Like we were at $9 for AVAX in 23. Now 2 years later, the lowest price that it has gotten to is $21. And now we're sitting at about $29. So you're too late to catch the very bottom, which was at like 19 bucks. You had a chance in April, right, to get $16 AVAX, $19 AVAX, but that chance is gone now. That was the bottom. Earlier this year, those were the true bottoms. Now, this is the new local bottom, $27 to $29. That's the new local bottom. After we leave here, it's going to be too late to get these prices. All right, so don't think that we're going to come down further, or we could come down further to $15 again, and you can get those. It's too late, in my opinion, to see $16 to $19 AVAX again. So this is you buying the bottom, you buying right here, in my opinion, because look at that trend line that we have. These trends normally get respected. So you'll likely see AVAX doing something like this, just flowing up, just going all the way up, all the way until this bull market ends, And this, we're already at January once we hit about here, So how, this, to me, this is going to happen very slow or very fast. So, and I'm prepared for either case. I think it's going to happen very fast because December is not that far away, and these tokens have to clear all of these levels, right? AVAX has to get back up to all-time highs. This is a large cap coin. It has to get back up to 140 bucks, and it only has what? September, October, November, December. It only has 3 months to do so. So things are going to happen very quickly, in my opinion. Very quickly from here. Let me check my comments. Okay, nothing else. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure you guys follow the channel for more live streams, and I'll see you guys next time. No outro.